Alright guys, MCU Collector here with the next video on the Hasbro Marvel Legends series, Marvel Studios, the first 10 years. This is the Walmart exclusive 2-pack for the first Iron Man movie, Tony Stark and Iron Man Mark 1. So this is an awesome set. I'd first like to thank Broker Quinn, my good friend up in Canada, for getting this out to me. He's hooked me up quite a many times. He included a letter too, and it's you know, very personal, and I really appreciate that he did it. But here's finding a good deal at Walmart for you, my friend. Keep up the hard work, and can't wait to see you hit another milestone. Your pal, Quinn. So thank you so much, Quinn. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all that you do and your support for this channel, for me, for my Instagram account as well. So thank you so much. So here we have the 2-pack. Really awesome. We have Tony Stark. Now this is not our first Tony Stark figure. I'm actually going to compare him to a previous Tony Stark figure that we've already gotten as part of the Marvel Unlimited Plus subscription, as well as the Mark 1, which that is not the first Mark 1 figure we've actually gotten. I'm also going to compare it to this previous release as well. But really cool packaging. You see we have the Iron Man logo down here, Legend Series logo up at the top corner, Marvel Studios, the first 10 years there. We have an Iron Man helmet logo there. You see it says Tony Stark and Mark 1. We'll take a look at the side. Really awesome. The concept art, really cool. The Iron Man Mark 1 figure looks like he can move a lot easier in that suit, which in the movie, you know, that he definitely can't move around a whole lot. And then you can see there's some other Iron Man look, and it looks like War Machine there. I don't know if that's a hammer drone or what that is. Captain America shield, but really cool. On the opposite side, we have the Iron Man 2008 release, and here's the information on that. Let's take a look at that. Okay, the summary for the movie reads, a 2008 Iron Man. During a business trip gone wrong, Tony Stark is kidnapped and forced to create a mega missile for a group of radicals. Much to the surprise of his captors, Stark instead creates a super suit powered by an arc reactor chest piece, now weaponized. He escapes in what becomes known as the Mark 1 armor of the tech-powered hero Iron Man. Okay, here's the back of the package. You see the Iron Man movie poster for the first movie. See, this is #1 in the set, so finally. Now, I have almost all of them. I have 1 through 9. I do not yet have that Thanos 3-pack. It will be here on Friday. I'm not sure if I'll get to the review on Friday, or if that will have to come on Saturday or over the weekend. But I have a wedding that I'm going to be a part of coming up, so I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get to that. But you see #1, 2008 Marvel Studios logo. Let's take a look at the bios and see what that says for Tony Stark and the Iron Man Mark 1. Okay, the bio for Tony Stark reads, the heir of Stark Industries, Tony Stark does not realize the impact of his weapons of war until he is kidnapped and forced to build one or die. That's pretty deep. Iron Man Mark 1 bio reads, Tony Stark creates a suit out of weapons materials and escapes from confinement in a clanking suit of metal, later known as Mark 1. So there's the bios. Let's get right to this thing and open it up. First, let me show you guys the UPC. Let's see if I can get that focused in. There it is. There's the UPC for you guys. Let's open this up. Alright, and here are the figures out of the package. So this is an awesome 2-pack. This is one that I'm actually highly going to recommend, even before going over the figures or anything. And I recommend this for movie figure collectors. If you are a movie figure collector, these are figures that you definitely want to have. It's the Iron Man Mark 1, the suit that started it all. So I do recommend it. And then it's always good to have a nice Tony Stark figure. And this is a very good Tony Stark figure. Because of that digital face print, looks very good on this figure. It's not the best male figure that Hasbro has done, but it is very good looking. They did do a good job with it. But again, highly recommend it. When I first started collecting, I started off collecting movie figures only. So during the course of my collection, the early days, the early months, the early years of my collecting, I sought to get as many movie figures as I possibly could. One of them was the previous Mark 1 movie figure. I had to have it. If you're going to collect movie figures, you got to get all the available figures that were out. So they made a Mark 1, a Mark 2, a Mark 3, a Mark 4, a Mark V, and then Legends started taking over, although they had the Walmart exclusive Mark VI and everything. But I had to get this Mark I, and it wasn't an expensive figure or anything, but you know, it definitely wasn't around anymore. You know, those movie lines, they weren't real Legend scale, they weren't in stores anymore. I think some figures were like Target exclusives, some were Walmart exclusives, and I think they were cheap, all this and that. But I definitely had to get this, and I was very happy to have this in my collection. And at the time, I thought it was a pretty good looking figure, a very good representation from the Mark I suit in the movie. Then fast forward a bunch of years and we come up to 2018 and we get a re-release of the same exact figure. Now that is, in and of itself, that is actually a disappointment because the scale of it just doesn't look right. How is that Tony Stark head supposed to fit in that helmet? It won't. It doesn't work. So the figure itself just is not into scale. Although the sculpt of it is very nice. The paint apps on this thing blow this one away. And as we look at the figures, we'll take a close look and I'll show you guys the differences. Won't go over articulation a whole lot on the Tony Stark figure. Probably not at all. We'll just look at the close-ups of the heads, the two different head sculpts. We'll spend more time on this one. So let's get right to it and compare this Tony Stark with the Marvel Unlimited exclusive Tony Stark. Okay, and here are the two Tony Stark figures side by side. Now, it's that suited body that I hate. Remember, I can't get these guys to stand up. Ross, I seem to be able to get to stand up very easily, except for when I put them on camera, right? I can never do it on camera, but these guys I have a very hard time getting to stand up, especially the Marvel Unlimited Plus subscription exclusive. That was kind of a long thing. That one I have a really hard time getting to stand up, and I don't know why. This one was a little bit easier, but still difficult. It feels like the right leg on that one's actually longer than the left leg, and maybe it's just me. But these two figures are the same figures. They have the same body mold, they have the same hands, they have the same everything. It's just different colors. So this is a blue suit with a white shirt or a very light blue shirt and then a blue tie. So that, you know, looks good. This one is kind of a dark, almost black suit with a maroon shirt and a gold tie. They even painted the buckle on this one, brown belt. This one just has black belt and silver buckle. So the figures are the same. The head sculpts are the same as well. The difference is this one before the digital face print looks good. Looks like Robert Downey Jr. Same head that was actually released in the Civil War 3-pack, the Battle Damaged Iron Man, Battle Damaged Captain America, and the first MCU Spider-Man figure. So same head sculpt, but this one actually has a brown hair versus black hair of the previous release. So that's kind of the big difference, and you can see that this one looks very good. The hair actually has a realistic look because in the movies it's basically a dark brown, almost black color, but the face print looks really good because the face is actually pretty well sculpted as far as line work for his facial features and like wrinkles in his forehead and everything. It actually looks like there's some, like it's printed on even, so that it comes off looking very good. Let me get in a little bit closer and then we'll just kind of move right on into the Mark I because there's not a whole lot to this figure. We've seen the body mold used multiple times, so it's all about that Tony Stark head. Okay, looks like that's as close as I can get it with it to stay in focus, and you can see it does look very good. So nice facial features in there. The goatee, facial hair looks good. The printed on eyes came out looking good. This one, the more and more I look at it up close, kind of has like a little bit of a derp eye, a little derpy eye. It's hard to kind of see, but one eye seems higher than the other, so definitely a huge improvement in there, and you can really see Robert Downey Jr. in both, but definitely more so in the digital face print. So enough of that, let's get right to that Iron Man Mark I. Okay, and here are the two Iron Man Mark I figures side by side. So before I started recording, I actually noticed one minor difference in the figures. And the sculpt and everything is the same. The paint job and the paint apps throughout the entire figure is going to be completely different. But one interesting thing, I don't know why this would be the case, the feet are different. So this, on the new one, the right foot is actually the left foot on the older one. And then the new one, left foot, is actually the right foot on the older one. Because the sculpts is different. So you see this orange piece has that more rounded section to it. That's actually on the opposite foot Not sure why, or not sure it even matters, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. But you could see the definite difference is going to be in the paint job. This one has actually a pretty good paint job. It just has a dull gray color with a little bit of orange rusty wash kind of throughout the figure. And that does look good. I really did appreciate this figure for what it was. There just wasn't any additional paint detail throughout it at all. This little conveyor and the gloved hands, you know, were black, and some of the hinges and everything in there. Yeah, but this thing takes it to a whole nother level. Yes, you have the black and the conveyor, but it actually has a metallic silver throughout the entire figure, as well as that same rust orange red color throughout, giving it that nice rusty look as well. And then we get some added greens in here. It looks like the paint was chipped from whatever, you know, weapon piece that he had taken it apart from and salvaged it from. Same with this orange, you know, they gave it that paint chip look. And then here on this little tank, the same thing, they gave it a paint chip look. So it's nice to put in those little added details. He's wearing brown gloves this time, because in the movie, if I do remember correctly, he actually did have brown gloves versus black gloves. So that's nice. Now, these old movie figures, and because Hasbro went ahead and just reused the mold, these old movie figures all had some kind of gimmick to them. Like this one had this little flame gimmick, because in the movie, you know, he had the flamethrower. You just kind of push it back and it shoots. I'm not going to do that because then it's going to fly away. And they kept that on here, and it's not terrible, but you know, it's definitely just one of those gimmick figures, because again, action figures are made for kids. So this was definitely a kid's toy. Still is, even though this line is kind of aimed at the collector market. But still one of those things. But definitely looks good. We do get some paint on the back as well. They didn't do any individual paint on this, like the wiring and stuff here. We gave it a little bit more of that rust wash. Some more of that chipped paint orange, some more of that green and orange throughout the figure. A little bit more of the heavy wash kind of throughout. So that looks really good. Now let's get some close-up looks at it. Okay, so here's a close-up look at the Iron Man Mark I. You can see the nice details kind of throughout, and then one thing, you know, as I look a little bit closer at it, some of the differences and changes. You can see the arc reactor here. They put a little bit of line work in there because it wasn't just a solid circle like it was on this previous one. You know, it did have separate parts kind of throughout it that really glowed. So it's nice that they actually added in that little touch. So not bad. You can see kind of how the sculpt work is, and then because these older movie line figures, they weren't to scale or anything, that's why you kind of have those odd looking hips. It's like the whole, you know, legs really wouldn't work in there. I think that's another reason why we would really like if Hasbro had given us a completely new figure, because, you know, if Hasbro would have done it nowadays, definitely would have looked a lot better, but that's okay still. So you can kind of look. So I'll go over the articulation a little bit. The head is pretty stiff, but it just kind of turns side to side. There's no hinge or anything on there because he's not able to really look up and down in this thing anyway. Shoulders come out nice, good, straight out. So not bad. There is a rotation. There's a swivel at the elbow, and there is just a single joint at the elbow, and you're not going to get very much bend out of this thing at all. You can see there's almost no motion to it, and that's because of, you know, how it's sculpted and everything. So just not a lot of motion there. Same thing on this side, single jointed elbow, but that's really all you're going to get. But again, keep in mind that this suit is very limited in his motion anyway, so it's not like, you know, it's inaccurate articulation in any way. There was a waist swivel. There's no ab crunch or anything like that. Again, legs only go out that far because of this conveyor or pulley system or whatever that is. It's really going to hinder because it's just going to go right into the hips there. There's a swivel at the knee and a single joint. Again, very little motion movement there. Same on the other side, single knee. There is a little bit of toe hinge. There's no ankle pivot or anything like that. So very limited in the articulation, but it's really all about the sculpt and the detail in it. So, you know, being a figure that was released in, you know, 2008 or so, the figure itself, the sculpt is 10 years old. So you can kind of see that even 10 years ago, Hasbro did a pretty good job on the sculpt itself. But it's nice that we get the update to give it that nice shine and metallic look to it on this new one, really compared to the old one. So not dull, nice and shiny, and looks really good. So let's pull it out and let's look at both the figures. Okay, so again, last final look at this 2-pack. I think they're great figures. Again, for any movie collector that's really new to the line or that's looking to get as many of the new movie figures or any movie figure really as it relates to any of the movies, it's definitely a good entry point. A good way to get into the collecting of the movie figures if you don't already have the figures. If you already have the other previous 2 figures, this may not be the 2-pack for you, especially at $50. The premium price point on these is pretty high, especially when we're getting actually 2 reissued figures as opposed to normally with 2-packs you would only get 1. Oh, but I guess that 2-pack was all 2 reissued figures as well. So at a high price point, but again, if you don't have the previous figures, it's definitely a good entry, a good ones to collect because the paintwork on both of them are great. That digital face print Tony Stark really looks like Robert Downey Jr. I like it a lot. The Iron Man Mark 1, the updates to it, huge improvement. I really like it. So if you guys find it, you know, I do recommend it. But I'm sure that given time, you might see these go clearance. Now, Walmart exclusives are kind of a tricky one. Sometimes they're easily available and easy to find. Sometimes they're not. The 2-packs, it would seem, kind of have been and will be. But I guess we'll see. But if you guys see this, I do recommend picking up this 2-pack. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you guys liked the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And as always, I thank you guys for watching.